I want 2025 to be my biggest year yet in business, and I want it to be yours too. There is nothing I love talking about more than goal setting, mapping things out, breaking things down, aiming for the stars, and doing everything we can to get there. If you're done playing small, overthinking, wishing, hoping, throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping that it sticks, then this episode is for you, because we're going to be putting all of that to the side and we're going to be breaking down an actionable plan so you know exactly what you can do to make sure that this year truly is your biggest year. First thing that you need, it's quite simple, but it's very, very impactful, is having a number two is that you need to have the third thing that you need to look at if you want to have your biggest year yet in your coaching business is that you act. Point number 4 is kind of what I just briefly touched on, which is to know. And number 5, last but not least by any means, is to actually, in this episode, you are going to learn how to have your biggest year yet in your coaching business for 2025. Guys, I am so excited about this episode for you because there is nothing I love talking about more than goal setting, mapping things out, breaking things down, aiming for the stars, and doing everything we can to get there. I want 2025 to be my biggest year yet in business, and I want it to be yours too. I've been in business now for 5 years, and every single year in business, I have significantly increased, if not doubled, my revenue. So this is something I'm very passionate about and very good at, and I can't wait to share with you my 5 biggest tips for ensuring that 2025 truly is your biggest year. Because so many people say that. They say they want to reach XYZ goal. They want it to be their biggest year. They want it to be the year their dreams come true. Everything comes to fruition. But for so many coaches and for so many people, no matter what your goal is, it doesn't happen. You have the same year again and again and again with maybe a few little tweaks in the right direction or the wrong direction. But nonetheless, it's never really the year that you truly want when it comes to your goals. And I don't want 2025 to be the same of that again. If you're done playing small, overthinking, wishing, hoping, throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping that it sticks, then this episode is for you, because we're going to be putting all of that to the side and we're going to be breaking down an actionable plan so you know exactly what you can do to make sure that this year truly is your biggest year yet. And we've got nothing but time to do this, so let's dive on in. So the first thing that you need, it's quite simple, but it's very, very impactful, is having a very specific goal, okay? We need to have a very, very clear goal. And I know that this sounds clear and obvious, but I've already caught 3 people out on this today. So it's clearly something that a lot of you need help with. And that is, you set this really big goal, but then you don't actually aim for it because you've sort of just pulled out this number out of nowhere and you have a lot of disbelief of it actually happening. You want it, you would love it, but it's kind of like one of those things where people say they want $1 million for like their whole life. They just say that, but they don't actually ever take any specific actions to make that happen. It's just something that's far away in the future that everyone wants. We don't want it to stay far in the future, but what I see so many people do, and I'll speak directly to coaches right now because that's who I help and that's who's listening, is that what I see coaches do is they'll say, I want to have a 100K year, I want to have a 300K year, I want to have a 500K year. And they've maybe gotten some rough idea as to where they've pulled that number out from. But then when it actually comes to mapping it out, breaking it down, planning it, or what they actually focus on a daily basis, they say, but do you know what? I'd actually be so happy with $40,000 for the year. Or I'd actually be so happy if I could even have $20,000. And that's great. Like, you want to have gratitude, and goal setting, yes, is obviously about trying to reach the goal, but also what it's really about is who you become on the goal. So it's okay to not reach it. It's okay to be grateful for the milestones along the way. But the mistake I'm really seeing a lot of coaches make is that they're saying it from the lens of like, let me actually just aim for that 20 or let me aim for that $40,000. And they've already just put their actual goal to the side. And they haven't just broken down the goal. They've actually just already settled and lowered for something that now actually feels possible. And it's like, if you actually want to reach your big goal, you have to focus on that goal. You have to believe in the goal. And if you don't yet believe in it, you have to do the work to believe in it. But you have to be consistently doing that work rather than just changing the goal. Okay? And so it's really important that you set a specific goal that you actually commit to, stick to, are clear on, want, and have very clear reasons why you want that, okay? So focus on the goal that you actually want to reach. You have to believe that it is possible. It's okay for there to be fear and doubt. I have a lot of fear and doubt about my goal for 2025, and I know that I can do it. I know that I can do it. I have fear about whether it will happen. I have fear about what that's going to look like or take or it not happening. Like, I have all of those fears. I'm a human being. However, I'm not changing my goal. I'm not now aiming for something less. I'm not focused on something different. I'm still focused on that goal despite it being incredibly uncomfortable. So have your one business goal. Make sure it's very specific. Make sure it's relevant, right? Don't just say 100K because that's what you should aim for. Say 100K if that's meaningful to you. Like, what would your life look like? What would you feel? What would you experience? What would you be, do, and have if you had 100K in your earnings in your business? You actually have to have a lot of meaning behind the goal, okay? Otherwise, it just becomes one of those things that forever stays on your vision board and never actually comes to fruition. It just stays as a vision, okay? So we need to have a clear goal, and then you need to break that goal down into quarterly and then monthly goals, and then even weekly KPIs if you like. So you want to break it down. Then you can focus on that first quarter or on that month, right? But it's still toward that really big goal, okay? So I have one big goal. I've broken it into the 4 quarters for the year. And now I've broken that first quarter into the months, and I'm just focused on that 1 month at a time. So I'm focused on that smaller goal, but it's a stepping stone as part of that big goal. That's very much still my aim. Okay. Make sure that you're doing the mindset work required, because it's very uncomfortable when you set a stretch goal that's very far from whatever you've achieved up until now. Like, it's very uncomfortable. So make sure that you either have someone supporting you regarding mindset, or you're doing money mindset work, work, or energetics and embodiment work, because that work's going to be so important to regulating your nervous system and actually starting to step into and embody the energy of, that goal being your normal reality. You kind of have to normalize it. Like, I remember $10,000 a month was the biggest deal. It was so big, so far away, so stretchy. And because it was so far away in my mind, it remained far away until I sort of normalized it. Now I don't even flinch about $10,000. I make that most weeks in my business. I'm grateful for it. I'm not disregarding it, but it no longer has that stigma that it once did because I've normalized it. We have to do that with our annual goal, okay? So make sure that you're doing that work to make that a thing. You also want to get ultra clear on the why. So I briefly just touched on that, but you want to really dive deeper and even write down 10, 50, 100 reasons why that goal is a must. Because if it's like a nice to have, or like that would be cool, I guess, or like, I just hope I get there, then again, you're not going to get there. But if it's a must, if you have 100 reasons why this goal is a must, you know that you're going to have this natural drive and you're not going to need motivation in order to move forwards. So we want to make sure that we are super clear on that. Number 2 is that you need to have an offer that is in alignment with your goal. The pricing, the inclusions, the structure, and the outcome all needs to align. So let me tell you what I mean by this. Let's say you want to make $300,000 in your business in 2025, and you have an offer that is $1,000, right? For 6 weeks, let's just say. You do the maths on how many clients you actually need to sign to generate $300,000. It's a lot of clients. And unless that's a normal thing for you, then that doesn't really add up. Like, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of clients. I'm not sure that that would even be sustainable, right? For most people, under most circumstances. So you really want to make sure that your offer, your core offer that you are going to be selling in 2025 matches the goal that you have. Otherwise, you're setting yourself up for failure of you have this big, amazing goal, but you don't have the systems, the structure, the business model to actually hold that amount of money. The universe and God will not give us anything that we cannot hold. Okay? So if you cannot hold $300,000 because of the way you've structured your business, then you will not earn $300,000, okay? So we want to make sure that it's all in alignment. So you may need to increase your pricing. You may need to change the inclusions for how much one-on-one support. You may need to move from one-on-one coaching to group coaching to reach your goal, right? If you were to be more realistic. You may need to have some more boundaries in place. You may need to have some more systems in the back end in place in order to hold that amount of clients. If you're manually doing everything and you want to bring in 1,000 clients or however many it is, like, can you actually hold that? Because if you can't, if it's overwhelming, too much, too stressful, too hard, guess what? You will subconsciously self-sabotage from reaching that. So until we've normalized it and we can hold it, it will not happen. So make sure that your offer is priced and packaged accordingly that is a direct reflection of the goal that you've set. Now, I don't want you to feel like you have to have things fixed in place forever. You can make these changes subtly or gradually over time. I'm not saying completely flip your entire business model on its head now. Maybe you need to, I don't know. We need to have a conversation about that. But what I'm saying is that you need to at least look at that and address that and say, is that in alignment, and be really honest with yourself. Otherwise, you will find it really difficult to grow if subconsciously you're like, but I can't handle another client, or I secretly don't want another client because of the workload that's going to come. Whereas if you were charging accordingly, the inclusions were set accordingly, you had certain boundaries and structures in place, you wouldn't be self-sabotaging and secretly not wanting to actually work with a client. Okay? So you need to look at that. The third thing, I'm dedicated to providing you with as much valuable free content as possible to help you grow and scale your coaching business sustainably. That's why I'm constantly rolling out new resources and free events for you. To ensure that this podcast stays fresh with the latest offerings, I've compiled all of our current free and paid offerings in one convenient place. Simply head over to www.sophiarosebernardi.com/links or click the link in the show notes. Thank you for being a part of this community, and let's get back to the episode. Look at that. The third thing that you need to look at if you want to have your biggest year yet in your coaching business is that you actually need to have a marketing strategy where the efforts that you put into that strategy, the detail and the quality actually matches the goal as well. So your marketing strategy is what you're doing to attract your ideal clients, to nurture your ideal clients, and to convert those ideal clients into high-paying, high-quality clients. That's what a marketing strategy is. It's what are you doing? What are the efforts that you're doing to attract, nurture, and convert your target audience into paying clients? That's really what you're doing here. So we want to make sure that our effort is in alignment with our goals. So again, if you want to make $300,000 in 2025, but you post once a week, twice a week, maybe 3 times a week, it's really average content. It's mostly copy and pasted from ChatGPT. And you're afraid to actually show your face, your branding is a little bit meh, blends in, isn't that high quality, but you want high quality clients, you want people to know and trust you, but you don't even trust yourself, or you're not being consistent. You can see the mismatch there and how it would be so difficult to sign clients. If you haven't outsourced certain tasks, created simple systems in the back end of your business, but you're expecting to be able to hold lots of conversations, sales calls potentially, onboarding processes and all these things, it all needs to align. You also need to be clear with your marketing strategy on, okay, if I want to sign on average, let's just say it's 1 client a week or 4 clients a month, how many leads would I need to bring in on average to be able to sign those 4 clients a month? Is it 400 leads then, if on average you convert 1 out of 100 people that you bring in? It might be more, it might be less, but you need to know your data. But you need to make sure, is the marketing strategy you're doing actually going to help you to reach the data points that you're after, to reach the goal statistically that you're after? So you actually have to be clear on that. And I know that sounds rigid and masculine and annoying, and I hate saying it as well. I don't love talking about data that much either. However, it is so important that you know your numbers, because how can you expect to reach such a large number if you don't even know the little numbers that are going to help you get to that big number? Okay, so you want to make sure that your marketing strategy is a true reflection of the amount of income that you want to bring in. I can't expect to make $1 million or bring in $500,000 or, millions of dollars if my efforts, my consistency, the quality, the value I provide doesn't actually reflect that amount of money. You will receive the amount of money that based on the amount of value that you provide. So you'd want to make sure that with your marketing strategy that you're potentially creating free resources, that you've created and not that you've just found on Canva or modeled from someone else or ChatGPT created, but you've created. You might want to be running workshops and having long form content like YouTube videos or podcast episodes or evergreen trainings or live free events so that you can add more value, knowing that long form content is going to help you to build that know, trust factor. Okay. So you want to make sure that your marketing strategy is a true reflection of the goal that you've set. Otherwise, good luck to you. You want to then break this overarching marketing strategy, otherwise known as your overall funnel on how you're attracting, nurturing, and converting. You're going to break this funnel down into daily and weekly and monthly tasks. What are those money-making tasks that you're doing on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis to actually bring that funnel to life and reap those rewards and results from that marketing strategy? That's point number 3. Point number 4 is kind of what I just briefly touched on, which is to know your data. So again, I hate talking about it. It sounds so rigid and masculine. And if I'm being completely honest, it's something I avoided myself for a very, very long time because it's so uncomfortable to actually track your analytics and your data and your numbers. It just is so messy. I don't like it. But what do I like? I like making a lot of money. Am I willing to track my data to be able to spend the least amount of money, put in the least amount of effort to get the most amount of money? Yes, I am willing to do that because that's what data ultimately allows you to do. Because think about it, if you don't track your data, when something's not right or something's not going according to plan or you're not reaching the result that you want and you don't have any data about the followers that are maybe going up and down or the amount of messages that you're sending, the amount of people that are responding to those messages, the conversion rate from your registration page of your event, the conversion rate from your sales calls, if you don't know any of that data, then what do you have to do when your marketing strategy isn't going right and you want to make some changes? Well, you have to guess. You literally have to guess. And there's a pretty good chance, depending on how badly you know your data, like how badly you don't know your data, should I say, that you're going to be focused on the wrong thing. And that's going to cost you time. And it's potentially take you in the wrong direction, make things worse because you're guessing. And that costs you time. And time will cost you money. So not knowing your data means that you have to instead follow guesswork, and guesswork is not a very good framework for success. Data and making logical decisions, focusing on the number one bottleneck in your business, and by tweaking that is going to solve a lot of other problems without you even realizing it. That's where you should be spending your time, and you can't possibly do that if you don't know your data. Not only that, but also not many people can actually truly help you at the root of it if you don't know your data. Right? A good coach will ask for that data so that they can help you make data-based decisions. But in order for that coach to be able to help you, they need to know that data first too. Because the last thing you want to do is do guesswork. That's hard work. We want to follow a framework instead, but we need data to do that. Okay, so we want to make sure that you know your data and you're tracking it weekly, you're reviewing it weekly, and you're tweaking accordingly, okay, so that you can move forward and improve every week. So every week, my little team and I, we all have a team meeting. And we actually just look at the data together, and then we each make decisions based on that data to be able to move forwards and improve for the following week. And we just do that every week. And that's working really, really well for us right now because it just means there's less guesswork and there's more of a framework and structure, and we're actually making progress. And we can clearly see where the problem areas of the business actually are because of that data. And number 5, last but not least by any means, is to actually have a coach who has the result or more to support you every step of the way. Kind of going back to that guesswork, right? If you don't have a coach, but you're a coach, firstly, that's a whole integrity piece that I'm not even going to get into right now. But aside from the lack of integrity, if you are a coach but are not willing to invest in a coach yourself, but I don't believe that would be many of you listening to this, but you really want to have a coach who actually has the result that you want in the way that you want it. So there are plenty of coaches out there making $1 million plus a year, but some are doing it through cold DMs. Some are doing it solely through ads. Some are doing it through having a really, really large team. Some have a really low profit margin. Some are doing it really simply, some are doing it really sustainably, and some are doing it really scalably. And so it's the same outcome, but a very different way of getting that outcome. You want to hire a coach who's getting it in the way that you want it. So if I don't want to have a super large team and I don't want to run 1,000,001 ads and spend tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars on that. I'm not saying I do or I don't. I'm just giving an example. If I didn't want that, it wouldn't make sense to hire a coach whose sole business model is doing that. You really want to hire a coach who has the values, the personality, the lifestyle, the strategy, the offer suite, structured more or less in the way that you desire. It doesn't have to be all the same, of course. All the coaches I've had, there's definitely been differences in our business models, offers, and structures, of course. But if they have the lifestyle or the result that you want in the way that you want it, that's a pretty good sign that they're a great coach for you. And if there's anything that's going to save you time and money and effort and energy, it's having a coach who's already done all of that can just tell you exactly what to do and has probably been through the problems that you might be going through and can help you get out of those problems really easily as well. It's actually amazing how, I'll have a client, she'll come to me and ask just one question, and that question helps her so much that she wouldn't have been able to do, or she would have gone down a different path, or that would have taken her weeks or months to focus on if she didn't just have a coach. But instead, because she had a coach, she just asked the question, could move on. It's amazing. And that's the benefit of having a coach. And that's why not all athletes have a coach, but all Olympians do. So if you want to be the best of the best, you want to have your biggest year, that means you are the Olympian of your life. You need to have a coach to help you to get there. So let me summarize the 5 points that I've shared with you today that's going to help you to have your biggest cash year yet in your coaching business. Number 1 is to have a very specific, tangible goal that you are fully backed behind, you've broken down, and you're super excited to move towards. Number 2 is to have an offer in alignment with that goal so that your offer can actually hold the amount of wealth that you're wanting to bring in. Number 3 is to have a marketing strategy where it directly reflects the efforts, the detail, and the quality required in order to, again, be a match for that income goal that you have in mind. Number 4 is to know your data, because we can't measure what we don't track, and then we can't approve upon anything that we're not properly tracking. So it's important we track the data so that we can progress rather than guess. And then number 5 is that we want to have a coach who has the result that we desire in the way that we desire, so we can just simply learn from them, follow their footsteps, and move towards that goal with so much ease. When I think back to it, little old Sophia, when she was just 22 years old, started her coaching business while she was working 5 casual jobs, cleaning and cooking and walking dogs and serving and babysitting and all the things. Had no business degree, no business experience, no university degree or college degree, no certification, and no idea what she was doing, but she invested in a coach who did know what he was doing. And then she followed that coach, implemented the strategies, and continued to do that with all different coaches until she found the right process for her. And that is exactly how I don't know why I'm saying it I'll just say have now made over $2 million in sales. There is no way 22-year-old Sophia would know how to make $2 million in 5 years without having learned from people who have done that, right? I have made over $2 million in sales in the last 5 years because I've followed people that have given me the roadmap. Because there was 5 years before that where I was working where I would max make $50,000 in a year or significantly less, and I had to work 5 jobs, 60 hours a week, and really hustle myself to the ground to make that. Huge difference, right? And the difference is one didn't have a coach and one did, right? So that is the 5 things that I would focus on if I wanted to have my biggest cash year in my coaching business in 2025, which, go figure, I do. So I'll be following that exact process, and I hope that you do as well. Let me know. Come message me on Instagram. What was your biggest takeaway? What are you going to be doing differently? Hold yourself accountable by sharing this with me on Instagram so that I can support you. What are you going to be doing differently as a result of listening to this episode? If you would like my support, having a coach by your side that can support you with all of this and more, I would love to help you. I'm currently offering free roadmap calls for committed, ambitious coaches who want support to grow and scale their coaching business in 2025 and make it their biggest year yet. These calls are for committed coaches that are ready to do that. They want that so badly, and they're willing to do the work required in order to reach that goal. If that's you, I would love to help you. You can click a link below to book a free roadmap call with me to see if working together would be the right fit to help you make 2025 your biggest year yet. Book the call below. I cannot wait to speak to you, and otherwise, I'll see you next week. Bye. If you loved this episode, it would mean the world to me if you took a moment to screenshot this episode, sharing what you think on your Instagram stories, tagging me at Sophia Rose Bernardi so that I can reshare it. And if you do, I'll send you a special resource exclusive for my podcast listeners to help you grow and scale your business. I'll see you in the next episode.